The twin suns of Etheria hung low on the horizon, casting the world in streaks of gold and crimson. Across the alien plains, wind rustled through towering blue reeds, carrying with it the calls of strange, distant creatures. Marcus Hale stood at the edge of the alien camp, boots sinking slightly into the damp soil. He still wasn't sure how he'd ended up here, half diplomat, half accidental interloper, but one thing was certain. He was the only human in this entire sector, and the center of everyone's attention, especially her. She was sitting on a carved stone slab across from the fire pit, one long leg tucked under the other, her skin shimmering faintly like moonlight on water. Her hair, if it could be called that, was a cascade of silver threads, each strand faintly glowing in the dusk. The others called her Asterisk Saria, but Marcus had quickly figured out that wasn't her asterisk real name. It was a title, a placeholder, an alien custom they'd told him. Until a person trusted you enough to share their true name, the one sung to them at birth, you only knew the name they offered the world. It was strangely poetic. And Marcus? He'd been trying for weeks to guess hers. Tonight, she smirked at him across the firelight, her silver eyes glinting with mischief. "If you ever guess my real name, human," she teased, her voice like warm wind through chimes, "I'll marry you on the spot. That's our way." A ripple of amusement ran through the gathered aliens. Her sisters chuckled behind their hands. Someone murmured something in their own tongue that Marcus couldn't translate, but earned a few knowing laughs. He raised a brow. "Marry you, huh? Sound like a pretty serious wager." She tilted her head, mock serious. "Our customs demand it. But don't worry, you won't guess. No outsider ever has." Marcus grinned slowly. "Is that a challenge?" "It's a promise." Her eyes glittered like stars. Over the next few days, it became a thing. Every night, Marcus would toss out wild guesses. "Lyriana? Saloon? Caliph?" Each time, she'd laugh, shaking her head. "Not even close, human." The aliens found the whole ritual hilarious. Her sisters would whisper among themselves, exchanging sly looks. Once, one of the younger ones even started taking bets on how many nights it would take before Marcus gave up entirely. But he didn't give up, because somewhere in the teasing and laughter, Marcus realized he wasn't just guessing to win some alien game. He wanted to know. He wanted her trust, her real name, and maybe he wanted that marriage part, too. On the fifth night, he tried logic. He'd been studying their language since he arrived, at first to survive, then because he realized how beautiful it was. The way their words carried layers of meaning, how the same phrase could sound like wind, water, or fire depending on intonation. Their true names, he learned, often carried echoes of nature. A parent might name their child after the night they were born or the first sound they made. So he guessed names like Rain on Stone or Morning Star or Whisper of Dusk. She only smiled faintly, almost softer this time, but she still shook her head. By the seventh night, Marcus started noticing something. Whenever he guessed certain names, names tied to moonlight, to wind, to silver, her sisters would glance at each other with the faintest flicker of surprise before covering it with laughter. And once, when he guessed Starfall, she didn't smile right away. She just looked at him, her silver eyes unreadable, before saying softly, "No, human, not that one." It was the first time she didn't laugh. He filed that away. The days passed. Marcus helped with repairs to the alien water collectors. He shared stories about Earth. Oceans that stretched for thousands of miles, birds that migrated entire continents, forests where sunlight barely touched the ground. She listened, sometimes with that same teasing smile, sometimes with quiet, unreadable eyes. One evening, when the others drifted off, she asked, almost casually, "Do humans give their true names to everyone?" Marcus shook his head. "Not really, but I guess we don't think of names the same way you do. To us, trust isn't about names. It's about showing up, keeping promises." She tilted her head. "And you've kept every promise you made since you came here. Try to make a good impression," he said lightly. But inside, his heart beat a little faster. On the 10th night, the wind shifted. The air grew heavy with the scent of approaching rain. The fire crackled lower than usual. Marcus sat across from her, feeling the weight of the moment. "I have one more guess," he said quietly. The camp fell silent. Even the sisters stopped whispering. She arched a brow, trying to look amused, but he caught the way her fingers curled slightly against her knee. Marcus met her eyes. "Your name," he said slowly, "is Serenia." The fire popped softly. Her breath caught, so slight he almost missed it. The others stared, because Serenia was not just a name. It was an old word in their language, one he'd stumbled across only once in their songs. It meant the hush before dawn, the moment when the world holds its breath before the first light touches it. It was a name given rarely, reverently, and judging by her face, it was hers. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then she rose slowly to her feet, silver eyes wide, unreadable. "You." Her voice was almost a whisper. No outsider should have known that name. Marcus stood too, unsure if he'd crossed some sacred line. I learned your language. Listened to the songs. I paid attention. Her sisters were already buzzing behind her, half shocked, half delighted. But she just stared at him like he'd peeled back some layer of her soul. Finally, she stepped closer, close enough he could see the faint shimmer of light across her skin. Our ways are clear, she said softly, almost dazed. You guessed. By our law, by our custom. I am bound. Bound, he echoed. She swallowed once, then lifted her chin. I am yours. If you'll have me. Marcus had expected teasing, laughter, maybe even anger. What he didn't expect was a quiet sincerity in her voice. Serena, he said, testing the name on his tongue. It felt like music, like the pause between heartbeats. Her breath hitched again. The camp erupted in noise, cheers, disbelief. Someone yelling that the human was either impossibly lucky or impossibly clever. Her sisters were already debating wedding rites. But Serena just stood there, face unreadable, like the world had shifted under her feet. Later, when the noise died down and the others drifted away, she sat beside him at the fire. You shouldn't have been able to guess, she murmured. He smiled faintly. Maybe I just got lucky. She shook her head. No, luck doesn't hear the heart of a name. For a moment, the only sound was the wind stirring the reeds. Then, softly, she said, when I was born, the night was so still the elders said even the stars were holding their breath. That's why they named me Serena, the hush before dawn. Marcus glanced at her. It's beautiful. Her silver eyes met his. It was never meant for human lips. Do you want me to stop saying it? He asked. She hesitated. Then, very softly, no. The next morning, the camp was alive with preparations. Apparently, alien weddings happened fast once a name was spoken. Marcus barely kept up with the customs being thrown at him. Paint on his hands, strange vows in their language, offerings to whatever gods watched over this world. Serena moved through it all like someone in a dream, silent, graceful, silver eyes giving nothing away, until the final moment, when she stood beside him, placed her hand over his, and said for the whole camp to hear, this human guessed my name, and so I give him my life. Her voice didn't tremble, but her hands did. That night, long after the noise faded and the stars burned cold above, Marcus finally asked, Are you okay with this? With me? Serena looked at him for a long time. Then, slowly she smiled. Not her teasing smile. Not the guarded one. Something softer. When I made that joke, she admitted, I thought no human could possibly win. I thought my name was safe. My heart was safe. And now, he asked quietly. She reached for his hand under the alien stars. Now, she said softly, I think my heart never was.